Okay. We have a fairly full evening. We have 6 nominees. 3 of them are here tonight. We have 3 excellent readers for the people who can't be here. The Philip K. Dick Award is very, very dear to me. I've been doing it for a long time. I've seen fashions come and go as far as people wear what they wear, the books that we read. If you haven't noticed, all the book covers change. I mean, they're different types of formats, colors, the way that grabs your attention. Now, I know this group goes out and looks specifically for the nominees when they come out. We try to put that out as soon as possible. I know that there's squabbling that goes on among the judges, and they manage to come to a decision without killing each other. Although sometimes it's been close. I'll let Gordon go into that a little bit more. We do have one of the judges here tonight, and be polite to him. I'm going to let Gordon point him out. So without much further ado, I'd like to recognize our chair, Audrey Parker, here at Norwescon 42.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see so many familiar faces back again. My name is Audrey Parker, and I'm the chair of Norwescon 42. One of the many things that is a privilege as part of the chair's role is the ability to award a lifetime membership, and I was able to do that this evening. Kathy Bond, are you still in the room? There you are. You're right in front of me. Well, obviously, you need to stand up.
It's really frustrating to me that I cannot give you my true response to that.
It's a trap. So I would like everybody to give a round of applause to Norwescon's newest lifetime member, Catherine Bond. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please enjoy the desserts and the coffee and the readings, and looking forward to see who wins this evening. Thank you.
I did a setup for you, Gordon.
Yes, you did.
So I'll let you...
What city is this?
The SeaTac, okay?
Thanks.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Actually, you made it very easy for me because it's very clear from all the hands that went up that you guys all know what the Phil Dick Award is already. So I don't need to do my annual routine about how Tom Dish conceived the award in a dream back in 1982 and then dreamed that he should let someone else run it. But as we do know, the Phil Dick Award is given every year to honor Phil's memory by celebrating or awarding what the judges consider the best paperback original science fiction work published in the previous year. And as most of you know, the award ceremony is not conducted like most other award ceremonies. We have the nominees or their stand-ins read from their works. And I think we're going to get right into that and skip over me blathering at you guys for too long. Unless you really want that, but didn't think so. So getting right into it then, the first nominee we have this year is Time Was by Ian MacDonald, published by Tor.com.
Oh my God. Brevity is the soul of wit. Trigger warnings here. This reading, any children present? Good. Trigger warnings, this reading includes perversity, gender bending, cross-dressing, reverse gender roles, and the perverse British art of pantomime. There's also a gay blowjob on it. Here we go. It'll jump right out at you. Brevity is the soul of wit. He blows me during nurse bedpans. Oh, no, he isn't. Oh, yes, he is routine. Captain McTavish is out on stage in full Grand Dame wig and pancake makeup, batting banter and badinage back and forth with the front rows. I'm on the follow spot, keeping him lit, while in the shadows, the stage crew dress the set for Robin Hood's Silver Arrow scene, when I first feel arms around my waist, then a movement of a hand down, and an unzip, and a hand cupping me, then a tongue working its magic. I managed to whisper a protest about the danger. He takes his lips away for a moment to whisper back, "No one will see, they're blind in this light." The lighting gantry in Bawdsey Village Hall is the size of a large wardrobe. The heat from the rheostats like a blast furnace. Put a hand wrong and you electrocute yourself. And directly beneath my feet, Robin Hood and his merry men are waiting for their cue from the stage manager. And Ben is blowing me brilliantly, beautifully, dirtily. Evil, evil, evil boy. If I waver, if the spot drifts even for an instant, Captain McTavish will have me on jankers for a week. 200 kids, evacuees, locals, RAF and the clergy of St Mary's roar with laughter to the dame as Ben finishes me off by hand, wipes me off, does me up, and is up at the rheostats to light the entrance of the singing, prancing merry men. There are 5 curtain calls. All in all, opening out of RAF Bawdsey's Panto's Babes in the Wood is a thundering success.
That was Time Was by Ian MacDonald. Our next nominated work is Alien Virus Love Disaster Stories by Abby May Otis, published by Small Beer Press. Abby.
Thank you so much. I'm going to keep going with the brevity theme. This is the beginning of Moon Kids. There are, unfortunately, no blowjobs. Suzo says Moon Kids find their way to Sandpoint because they're drawn to the tides. They like to be around something else that's ruled by the pull of the moon. Colleen thought she came to Sandpoint because Krabby Abby's was hiring, and softshell didn't seem like such a bad thing to eat for lunch every day, but she's willing to concede that maybe Suzo has a point. At any rate, there are a lot of Moon Kids in town, which mostly Colleen likes, although every so often it makes her crazy. She's been here a year. She likes that Suzo lets her wait tables instead of keeping her kitchen side. Plenty of other restaurants keep Moon Kids kitchen side on account of the odd asshole customer who makes a snide comment about Moonies putting him off his food. Suzo's into jumping on stuff like that. This is an equal opportunity place of employment, he'll say, and at this point, I'd like to give you equal opportunity to get the fuck out of my dining room. No denying it, though, Moon Kids, they're kind of stubby. On account of them growing up on the moon, your muscles learn differently in moon gravity. Your bones form light like a bird's. Used to not even be possible to make the transition, you'd touch down into earth pull and collapse like a fast-melting candle. Too many fractures for all the king's horses and all the king's men. Way, way too many for earth doctors to deal with. Earth doctors are known for not giving a shit. Now, though, they've got ways around it. They've got operations and stuff. Every Moon Kid's got incision scars in the same places. Colleen likes that her friend Tesla works for Suzo, too. Tesla got promoted to assistant manager a couple weeks ago because she's so bomb with the business side of things. Encouragement is good for Tesla. The people side of things she has more trouble with. The restaurant is hopping today, some obscure holiday, some excuse for moneybags to wallow in a day at the shore. Big, well-fed families sit around the tables and snork down crab bisque and get a total kick out of summoning, "Waiter, oh waiter." The air droops with fish smells and the sweaty fervor of over-tipping. Everyone likes reliving the golden consumer boom once in a while. Colleen sloops between tables like a freaking old school roller skatress. Shrimp poppers here, cod basket there. She can recommend the most expensive thing on the menu in a way that doesn't feel sleazy. She takes orders without a pad. The food is gross, but the money bags pay for service, for the anachronistic privilege of getting served. And the tips are spinning out like cotton candy, and Colleen's feeling on top of the world. It's been a year since she last stumbled and spilled someone's calamari. A year since she overthought the business of walking in earth pull and smashed down and had to have 2 people haul her upright. A year since anyone watched her flailing and giggled and edged away. Colleen, you'd look at her today and you'd say, now, there's a moon girl who's coping. Mostly you'd be right. Tesla isn't doing as well. The customer rush today, it means big tips, but also big noise, and they've got a sous chef out sick and 15 other things, and all Tesla wants is to get the purchase order in, but instead she's smudging the e-paper with her elbows, biting 8 of her fingernails at once. Tesla feels people staring even when they're not. She starts to twitch. She picks her lips until they bleed, and then people ogle the chick with blood down her mouth. And then she picks more frantically, and a feedback loop gears up. Stop, Tesla, sweetheart, hush. Moon girl par excellence. Bones too frail for all the muscle. Mind too frail for all the grief. Am I good for a little bit more? Okay, here's the deal. The earth isn't fit for much anymore. Everyone's given up growth cold turkey, which means they seize on development like an ex-smoker chewing pencils. The moon helps out with that. Luna, her airtight cities, full with scuttling hordes of washed-out researchers, working like spastic cogs in the breakthrough machine, hacking away at the mystery forest while they wait for the real trees to grow back. Except no one's figured out a way yet to get people to work so hard they don't have time to screw. Even Mondo geeks get the pole in the hole every now and then. Plenty of those fetuses end up down the chutes where they belong, but sometimes someone gets a bee in their bonnet about being parental, having a family. So you end up with moon kids. You can keep your moon kid until it turns 16, then they give out tests. The ones who pass get fitted into the machine. The ones who don't, who choke during the multiple choice or blank out during the neural net scan, they're out. The population board picks you up by the scruff of your neck and drop kicks you, the 200,000-mile ride down to Earth. The moon doesn't give a shit where you go after that. You sucked the moon's tit for 16 years and then had the gall to turn out stupid. The moon never even looks back. Moon kids get the illustrious task of trucking out slabs of beer-battered cod to shiny tourists who look at them like they're furniture. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Would you like fries with that? And at night, they get the pain of watching the moon rise. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Abby May Otis reading from Alien Virus, Love Disaster. I think most years we arrange the readings in alphabetical order, the alphabetical order based on the authors' names. This year, in the spirit of Phil Dick, we randomized it by throwing the I Ching. And our next reader is Audrey Schulman, reading from Theory of Bastards.
Sorry?
Speaking to the mic.
Okay. So this book is about, first off, it's always a thrill that the book has a swear in it. I get to swear all the time in public. Anyway, this book's about Dr. Frankie Burke, who's a MacArthur Genius Award winner. And she's studying bonobos. Bonobos are a great ape. It's one of our most relatives most close to us. They look an enormous amount like chimpanzees, just a little skinnier, a little less muscular, and their hair is normally parted right down the center and sort of combed down almost, so that they look a little bit like alfalfa and Little Rascals. And the reason why a lot of people don't know about them is because they have sex constantly. It's their way of dealing with everything. Any tension, food fight, anything. And that's why you don't see a lot of PBS specials about them, and you don't find them at zoos because there's no PG-18 part of the zoo. But they're incredible creatures. They're highly matriarchal and very nonviolent. They will not, like chimps, they'll search down, premeditate it, and kill other chimps. But bonobos, like the worst they ever, I've done a lot of research about them, and the worst I ever heard of is where one bit another one on the hand and a few drops of blood came up, and all the bonobos were just freaked out at that. So anyway, my main character, Dr. Frankie Burke, is studying them, and this is a few years in the future, so climate change is a bit worse. When a giant dust storm sweeps in and all hell breaks loose, and she and the bonobos have to survive. So I'll read to you a short section, which is just as the dust storm is sweeping in. In the middle of the night, Frankie woke, her bladder full, and remembered the storm. After visiting the bathroom, she headed toward the enclosure to see if the storm had arrived. The rasping snore of one of the bonobos echoed down the hall. It sounded like Mr. Mister. In the research room, she stopped in front of the door to the enclosure and said, "Okay, door, open." The door unlocked and she stepped out into the empty space. The overhead lights snapped on, blinding, so she said, "Okay, lights, off." With a metallic clunk, the lights turned off. In the darkness, the enclosure felt spooky, a deserted auditorium at night. With the glass roof closed, the echo was perfect. The rustle of her clothes, the rasp of her breath. She sniffed the air and looked up. Of course, there was nothing to smell aside from the normal fragrance of fruit, manure, and cleaning products. Above, the stars were clear and bright. She sat down, leaning back against the wall, hoping to stay awake until the dust storm arrived. The image in her mind was of howling winds and groaning walls, small objects flying about. Sitting there, she half dozed. At one point, she startled up, unsure of what had wakened her or how much time had passed. The quiet complete, profound, the silence of a dream. Perfect timing.
Really not that silent.
No traffic, no voices, no wind, nothing except the breath in her throat. Above her, half the stars were gone. She blinked up at the sky. At first, she assumed the object between her and the stars was a cloud, then noticed how clean the line was, like a giant piece of paper creeping majestically forward across the night sky. She looked over at the tourist viewing area. One by one, the lights along the path blurred, then disappeared, wiped from view, from existence. This silent darkness sliding forward along the path, erasing object after object until only the enclosure remained. This building, the last in all the world. The storm arrived in this way, not with noise or fury, but instead like fog, a creeping absence of sound and light and vision, like death or anesthesia, an inching thief. Staring upward, she imagined all that dirt, that dust, hanging in the air above her, thousands of feet of it, higher than she could see or imagine, the sheer weight of it all. For a moment, she felt how truly tiny, how utterly insignificant she was. Then she stood up and shook herself. Heading off to bed, she concentrated instead on the fact that she was inside. The lights and heat on, the fridge full, the sink working. That cozy sense of comfort that came from being warm and safe during a storm, that sense of being privileged and smart. Thank you.
I like the song. That was good.
Oh,
Cool.
that wasn't my phone.
Oh, it wasn't? Oh. That was Audrey Schulman with Theory of Bastards. By the way, Europa Designs actually published it. Our next nominee this time is The Body Library by Jeff Noon, published by Angry Robot. Jeff can't be with us tonight. We have Adam Kukunas. Adam.
Good evening. I'm Jeff's official body double, and I'm going to be reading an excerpt, and he entitled A Face of Stories. He looked up and saw his face in the dirty, cracked looking glass. His flesh was covered in tiny black marks, all the letters of the alphabet. They were moving just under the surface like an infection of worms or insects. The letters slithered on his skin, forming words, forming stories. He tried to read them. He tried to read his own face for a message. His own face was a cry for help. His face was a cry for help in the middle of a novel. His own face was a short story with a sad, sad ending. His own face was an experimental text without sense or meaning. His face was written by a madman. His face was a gunshot described by a drunk. His face was a penny dreadful. His face was a horror story. His face was a ghost story haunted by his own living self. His face was a scream written in colored letters 10 feet high. His face was a suicide note. His face was a cheap romance novel thrown in the gutter on a rainy night, the pages sodden, trampled underfoot by high heels and brogues. His face was a list of things to buy and keep in storage in case the bomb should ever fall. His face was an instruction leaflet for a self-destruction device. His face was a science fiction story about a robot who started to feel emotions. His face was a racy pulp thriller starring femme fatales and doomed private eyes. His face was a dialogue between a dead man and a living woman. His face was a love message written in lipstick on a mirror. His face was a page torn from an encyclopedia filled with useless information about things that no longer existed. His face was a screwed-up page from a manuscript thrown into a wastepaper basket. His face was a fading page of words turning to gray letters, disappearing. His face was a blank page. His face was a blank page. His face was a blank page. His own face in the mirror was a blank page. Thank you.
And that was from The Body Library by Jeff Noon. Our next finalist is Ambiguity, Machines and Other Stories by Vonda Nussing, published by Small Beer Press. Reading for her will be Brenda Cooper.
All right. This is from the story With Fate Conspire by Vonda Nussing. I saw him in a dream, the dead man. He was dreaming too, and I couldn't tell if I was in his dream or he in mine. He was floating over a delta, watching a web of rivulets running this way and that, the whole stream rushing to a destination I couldn't see. I woke up with a haunted feeling that I had been used to in my youth. I hadn't felt like that in a long time, the feeling of being possessed, inhabited, though lightly, as though a homeless person was sleeping in the courtyard of my consciousness. The dead man wasn't any trouble. He was just sharing the space in my mind, not really caring who I was. But this returning of my old ability, as unexpected as it was, startled me out of the apathy in which I had been living my life. I wanted to find him, this dead man. I think it is because of the machine that these old feelings are being resurrected. It takes up an entire room, although the only part of it I see is the thing that looks like a durbine, a telescope. The machine looks into the past, which is why I've been thinking about my own girlhood. If I could spy on myself as I ran up and down the crowded streets and alleys of Park Circus. But the scientists who work the machine tell me the scope can't look into the recent past. They never tell me the why of anything. Even when I ask, they smile. They say, "Don't bother about things like that, Gargi. What you are doing is great, a great contribution." To my captors, they think they are my benefactors, but truly they are my captors. To them, I am something very special because of my ability with the scope. But because I am not like them, they don't really see me as I am. An illiterate woman, bred in the back streets and alleyways of old Kolkata, of no more importance than a cockroach. What saved me from being stamped out by the great indifferent foot of the mighty is this ability. The machine gives sight to a select few, and it doesn't care if you are rich or poor, man or woman. I wonder if they guess I'm lying to them. They've set the scope to a particular moment in history, the spring of 1856, and a particular place, Metia Bruise in Kolkata. I am supposed to spy on an exiled ruler of that time, to see what he does every morning out on the terrace and to record what he says. He is a large, sad, weepy man. He is also the Nawab of Awadh, ousted from his beloved home by the conquering British. He is a poet. They tell me he wrote the song Babu Mora, which to me is the most interesting and important thing about him, because I learned that song as a girl. The song is about a woman leaving, looking back at her childhood home, and it makes me cry sometime, even though my child wasn't idyllic. And yet there are things I remember, incongruous things, like a great field of rice and water gleaming between the new shoots, and a bagula hunched and dignified like an old priest standing knee-deep in water waiting for fish. I remember the smell of the sea many miles away, borne on the wind, my mother's village, Siridanga. How I began to lie to my captors was sheer chance. There was something wrong with the machine. I don't understand how it works, of course. But the scientists were having trouble setting the date. The girl called Nandini kept cursing and muttering about space-time fuzziness. The fact that they could not look through the scope to verify what they were doing, not having the kind of brain suitable for it, meant that I had to keep looking to check whether they had got back to Wad al-Shah in the Kolkata of 1856. I'll never forget when I first saw the woman. I knew it was the wrong place and time, but instead of telling my captors, I kept quiet. She was looking up toward me. My viewpoint must have been near the ceiling. She was not young, but she was respectable. You could see that. A housewife squatting on her haunches in a big old-fashioned kitchen stacking dirty dishes. I don't know why she looked up for that moment, but it struck me at once, the furtive expression on her face. A sensitive face with beautiful eyes. A woman who I could tell was a warm-hearted and motherly type. So why did she look like that, as though she had a dirty secret? The scope didn't stay connected to the past for more than a few blinks of the eye, so that was all I had, a glimpse. Nandini nudged me, asking, "Karkiji, is that the right time, the right place?" Without thinking, I said yes. That is how it begins, the story of my deception. That simple yes began the unraveling of everything.
That was Ambiguity Machines and Other Stories by Vonda Singh. Our final nominee tonight is 84K by Claire North, published by Orbit. She cannot be here tonight, so Vonda Lee will read for her.
Lucy Kamali barely existed anymore. Only Rainbow Princess, part property of Princess Party's gold, remained in the system. 3 years old, the care home where she'd been placed got sponsorship from a kids' party company. Lucy Rainbow Princess had been judged suitably cute, and the first fashion shoot had her dressed up in a tutu with a plastic crown in her hair, posing with the rest of the most winsome kids with the tagline, "Make your child a princess for the day." It was cheaper to use kids from the home. Parents could be so pushy these days. For the next few years, the kids were hired out for photo shoots as extras in adverts needing a background of cute tots, and for bespoke party events in mansion houses that needed more children, preferably with semi-celebrity marketing kudos to help make up the numbers. The money they brought in meant the home could afford 2 meals a day and a Victoria sponge cake at Christmas. The rest went towards management fees. You had to keep talented people happy. When she was 7, Lucy Rainbow Princess was diagnosed with malnutrition. The cost of feeding her up to minimum standard required extra appearances at parties and ads to make up the budgetary shortfall. But as she began to put on weight, fewer advertisers wanted her. When she was 8, Lucy burst all the balloons at a party. 3 weeks later, she stabbed a stuffed unicorn with a cake knife, leaving tattered shreds of polyester on the floor and the younger guests in tears. The care home withdrew her from the sponsorship scheme and put her on the 3rd floor on the basic care package and didn't spot when she dropped out of school. The cops, when they arrested her, age 12 and a half, for drunk and disorderly behavior, had to give her a lift back to the home when no one came to collect her. On her 13th birthday, she was picked up, stoned, booze on her breath, standing in the middle of the street not knowing where she was. One of the girls had taken her to a house of some friends of hers, older, all men, who'd put something in her drink and told her to smoke more. They had more mates coming. Come on, it'd be great, But Lucy Rainbow Princess had a decent head on her shoulders, even when her face had gone walking elsewhere, and told the men to go fuck their mothers, and stormed out of the flat, and later, in the hospital, couldn't press charges because she didn't know where the flat had been or what the men were called. And by the time her older friend came forward to tell the cops everything, the world had lost interest. On her 14th birthday, Lucy Kamali punched a cop in the nuts for trying to take her beer away while drinking in the square. The indemnity was set at £546, a very low rate given her crime, and no one was willing to pay it. She was sent to juvenile detention, where she worked copying and pasting 5-star online reviews for sports products. Came in perfect condition, really happy with my product. Fast, reliable service, it was exactly what I wanted. OMG, it's just perfect, I'm going to use this in all my workouts. And so on. The day before she was meant to receive parole, she set fire to the unused gymnasium, and her sentence was extended. This seemed to cause Lucy a great deal of satisfaction.
Thank you. That was from 84K by Claire North. Now, as you know, Bob, the award, the Phil Dick Award, is a juried award, and the jurors change it. We change jurors every year. This year's judges were Madeline Ashby, Brian Atterbury, Christopher Brown, Rosemary Edgehill, and Jason Huff. Jason is here. The others may all be dead for all we know. They spend all year reading through the eligible books and a few ineligible ones and determining the winners. The winners do not receive a trophy. No one will verify this, but I've been told by past winners that they will get struck by a pink beam of light at some point. I told the nominees that I was going to drag this out, but I don't think I will.
Please.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If you want, I have last year's World Fantasy Award winners in the same. It's the last time I wore this jacket. Vonda, you won an award here. Oh, sorry, wrong. Okay, that was last year. The special citation this year for the Phil Dick Award goes to 84K by Claire North.
Wow, I am honored to share the words that Claire would like you all to hear. Thank you for this award, and I'm gutted that I can't be there in person to collect it. My first introduction to science fiction was reading Philip K. Dick, and one of my family's proudest possessions is a signed copy of Eye in the Sky, dedicated to my father, who was Philip K. Dick's UK publisher back when the Earth was young. As a result, this award carries more than a sense of wonder and delight. It is something my whole family will be celebrating. Whenever you win anything, it is naturally because you are badass awesome. Whenever you do not, it is obviously because the system is flawed and failed to recognize your brilliance. The truth, the complex truth of time, circumstance, the excellence of other people, culture, and yes, downright luck is less satisfying for everyone, but important to name simply because for every prize given, there are 100 brilliant books that could just as easily have been honored and which should be celebrated. Awards like this have the heady job of trying to curate innumerable wonderful books down to a list that has on it something wonderful for everyone. Thank you to the judges, Madeline, Brian, Christopher, Rosemary, and Jason for undertaking that epic role, and go read all the books on the short list. Alone, every book matters, but together we create a snapshot of our time. 84K is not my most cheery book. It creates, or perhaps simply expands upon, a world in which money is the only value we have to society. Humanity has always been an inherently social creature. We thrive and grow together by recognizing the value of each other's minds and souls. As writers and readers, we are the makers of the stories that bind, creators of a language that bring people together in common recognition that humanity is a quality that transcends capital, prejudice, or tribal division. Philip K. Dick's books constantly probed at this idea of humanity as a thing beyond introversion, and those stories are just as important today as they have ever been. Thank you to Vonda Lee for stepping up while I'm on the other side of the planet, read Jade City. I did not put that in there. And Ellen Wright and Anne Clark at Red Hook for always looking out for me, and to my editor, Anna Jackson, for grudgingly conceding that grammar is for losers, but being right about everything else. Thank you.
This is actually the second time in the last 2 years that I've had to give out an award to Catherine when she wasn't there to accept it. So we either got to get this must be present to win concept into her head or start presenting awards in England or something. I think I forgot to mention when I was discussing the prize that aside from the pink beam of light, the winners also get a check. And we've never bounced one yet, so it's real money. And this year, the award for the Philip K. Dick Award, goes to Theory of Bastards by Audrey Schulman. Congratulations.
So I got no speech. I assumed I wouldn't win. Thank you. Thank you to the judges and to everybody on the committee. And I'm totally honored, and it's a great surprise. I would also say that I, at one point, stopped. I would like to dedicate this prize to my editor, because at one point I stopped writing because I couldn't get another book published. And he actually, 2 years after I stopped that, he found one of my books and published it. And so now I am still being published, and I am still writing. So for any of you out there who write, keep on going, and have faith. And thank you.
Wow. If you haven't read any of the books, I highly recommend you go out and buy them and read them. Cutting edge science fiction is hard to come by any longer, it seems like. But when these judges sweat over this and come up with a list like we had tonight, it's like you guys did a great job. So anyhow, we really appreciate everyone being here tonight. Is there
Yes.
something else we need to say? Something about maybe the Philip K. Dick Foundation? Just say thanks, sponsoring,
Who? What?
plug.
Yeah. Yes, this award was brought to you by the letter P and the number 6. No. The award is backed by the Philadelphia Science Fiction Society and by the Philip K. Dick Trust. And we're grateful to all of them for their support through the many years, 37 years now.
Yeah.
And come back next year for 38.